Hi there! In this video, I'm gonna share 5 simple tips that I use as a professional videographer to make my shots feel way more cinematic, even when I'm filming alone. I learned most of these tips while studying film and use them on almost every shoot that I do. So let's get started. Tip number 1 is to use the right lens. The lens you choose can really affect how your video feels. Some lenses show more of the surroundings and make the scene feel bigger, while others bring the viewer much closer to your subject. For example, if you're filming something active or showing a beautiful landscape, a wide lens is great because it gives a lot of context. But if you're filming something more emotional, like a personal story or a close moment, then a longer lens can help you connect the viewer to the subject and the story. Also, lenses have different apertures. That affects how much of the image is in focus. Some lenses can blur the background. We call this shallow depth of field, which helps the subject stand out and gives a video a more cinematic feeling. Tip number 2 is to shoot in S-Log or in another flat color profile. Shooting in S-Log or another flat profile means your footage will look very gray and flat straight out of the camera. But that's a good thing, because it gives you more flexibility in color grading and helps you to get a softer and more professional look. When you film in a standard picture profile, the image might look more colorful and contrasty, but it can also look a little bit too sharp and digital, which is less cinematic. The downside, however, of shooting with S-Log is that it's harder to expose it correctly. But you can use something called a LUT, a lookup table. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right in English, but I call it a LUT or LUT when filming to help you achieve the look you want. It doesn't affect your recording, but it helps you to see a normal image while you're shooting. I usually use the Rec 709 when I'm filming, and that really works for me. And here you can see that I'm shooting in a S-Log color profile, whereas here where I'm shooting in a standard picture profile, and it looks a little bit more digital and sharp. Tip number 3 is to film each scene in a 3-shot sequence. One simple trick that makes your videos feel more like a movie is to film each scene using 3 different shots. First, you have a wide shot to show the environment or setting. Secondly, you have a medium shot to get closer to the action. And third, a close-up to show emotion or details. This is a classic way of building a scene. It adds rhythm and helps the viewer better understand where they are and what's going on. It's also super helpful while editing because you will have different angles to cut between, which makes the video feel more dynamic. Start with a wide shot to give context and show where we are. Then go to medium to focus more on the person and what they're doing. And with a close-up of their hands, that creates a nice little 3-shot sequence. Tip number 4 is to frame with intention. Even the most basic shot can feel cinematic if the background is chosen carefully. Before you hit the record button, ask yourself, does this background add something to the story, or is it just distracting? Even if you're in a place where the background isn't very interesting, which, trust me, is gonna happen plenty of times, you can often angle the camera to leave out distracting elements. A little bit of composition awareness goes a long way in making your shot more polished and intentional. And tip number 5, use sound to support the visual. Most people focus on visuals, but sound is just as important. If your video only has music and no ambient sounds or effects, it can feel a bit flat and kind of like a music video and not a real scene. That's not how we experience real life. We always hear little sounds around us: wind, people walking, birds, etc. Adding ambient sound like background noise or sound effects helps your video feel more real and immersive. One of my film teachers used to say, a film is 50% image and 50% sound. And I've really learned that that's true. And sound also gives you more creative control. You can guide the mood, you can make it more dramatic, peaceful or tense, just by choosing the right background and music. It takes time to do, but it's really rewarding. and adds a lot of emotion to your videos. At the same time, I try not to guide the viewers too much. And what I mean by that is that I want them to interpret the scene in their own ways. So I usually avoid using overly emotional music, for example. So those are my 5 go-to tips for making any video feel and look more cinematic. I'd love to hear your favorite tip in the comments. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to press on the like button, maybe even subscribe, and I'll see you the next time.